Ugh, how does this confounded thing work? Hey, Finton, you're fine. It's just a microphone. Interesting. And what does it do exactly? It records your voice, so people can listen to it later. I see. And is this some form of magic? No, this is technology. Ah, fascinating. All right, Mr. Writer, explain why I'm here. You're taking away precious time from recruiting members for the Order of the Pawn. Yes, of course. I brought you here because this week on the podcast, we're going to look at the Devine stories from the Madness and Mayhem Challenge. Madness and Mayhem? Sounds like quite the challenge. All right, let me explain it. So, I want to discuss the new stories set in Devine, and a few that star you as well. Ah, very well. I do love stories about me. Haha, let's start this podcast. Whatever that means. All right, that sounds like a plan. Welcome, everyone, to a special Devine-themed episode of the Saved Us Draft podcast. Hello, one and all, and welcome to episode 22 of the Saved Us Draft podcast. This week's episode is Devine-themed, to celebrate some of the stories that starred Finton Marybrook and those others that were done for the Devine prompt during the Madness and Mayhem Challenge. For those who aren't familiar with it, Devine is one of my connected universes that combines science fiction and fantasy into a collection of standalone stories featured right here on the writer's journey. This universe has been growing in popularity a lot, and my recent stories set there are meant to be preludes, leading up to the launch of a series set in Devine called The Order of the Pawn. One of the main characters in each of these stories is also a mysterious bard and storyteller named Finton Marybrook. We heard from him in the show's opener. So yeah, this episode will have our usual shoutouts, followed by a weekly writing discussion, and then we're going to take a look at the Devine stories that were completed during the Madness and Mayhem event. And Finton will be back to provide his feedback and completely shatter the fourth wall. We're also launching a brand new segment this week called Echoes from the Void, where Voidy and I will be discussing questions that were submitted by people from the community, so look forward to that later in the episode. Before we get into this week's shoutouts, I also want to thank everyone who responded to my request for new interview guests on the show. Over 50 people, if you can believe it, have responded between my posts on Substack, Threads, and Blue Sky. So I have an amazing and growing list of guests to bring on the show in the coming months. So while we don't have an interview this week, I can promise you that going forward, we won't miss a beat because there are a lot of really cool people who want to come on the show and I'm excited to talk to them. In the meantime, let's look at this week's shoutout. Alright, and for anyone new to the show, the way the weekly shoutouts work is that every Tuesday I open a thread in my subscriber chat on Substack where you can drop your links to anything that you've published that you're proud of, and I will pick 5 each week to feature on the show. So let's get right into it. First this week is Home by Rachel Tribble. This is part 4 in the Rings of Fire series, and I'm once again immediately fascinated by this incredible world building and the detail that Rachel brings to all of her stories. I admittedly still need to catch up on the series itself, but honestly, even just jumping into part 4 here was an absolute treat. This particular piece very carefully constructs some beautiful imagery while also dropping nuggets of knowledge about the world and the characters. It's an amazing ballet of exposition and prose, and it has this kind of cozy atmosphere that's really warm and inviting. The details are so beautiful, but it's the concepts that really blew me away because they're so grand and profound and cosmic in nature. It makes the whole piece feel grounded, but infinitely profound at the same time. Check out this excerpt to give you an idea what I'm talking about. This was her bliss, the weaving of suns. Her whole heart went into each one. They were her prayers, her love, and her connection to the greater universes above, below, and all around her. As she wove the frequencies into time, she connected her heart to the center of the light, entwining her knowledge and all the knowledge of the sun weavers who came before her into the life force of the infant suns. Finally, she centered the light inside where it would grow into a whole heart. I love how intentional the language is, while also being warm and inviting like I mentioned. It's grandiose, but not overly complex. Amazing work. Check the show notes for a link. Second this week is 30 Days of Fright by Wendy Cockcroft. Wendy was one of the most consistent writers who participated in the Madness and Mayhem Challenge, so it's amazing to see her hosting a challenge of her own in June. As the name suggests, she's presenting 30 prompts each day throughout the month to inspire fellow writers on Substack. She's also featuring prompts during the month from other authors, like Edward Marlowe Ruiz, Tasman Gordon, and others. I myself did a horror poem the other day called Cursed Ground, but I plan to enter more works into the challenge as soon as I'm able. A big shout out to Wendy for hosting this excellent event, and I can't wait to see what the new prompts are. Third this week is Above Khumbu by L.G. Wells. This absolutely epic story is a prelude set before the events of an upcoming piece called Death at 20,000 Feet. And L.G. first started writing it as a response to my dialogue domination prompt for Madness and Mayhem. Like any good project, though, it grew and expanded as it went along. Case in point, there are nearly 5,000 words here to give you an idea of the scope. The story is well worth your time, though, especially if you're a fan of things like The Thing, At the Mountains of Madness, and other frigid horror tales. LG even included musical pairings for when you're reading, which, as you may know, is something I like to do with my posts. I love to see others trying their hand at it as well. This story takes place on the Khumbu Glacier in Nepal, and it's an absolutely wild ride. Check out this excerpt. Pasang, who had been listening intently, immediately focused on a smaller, dedicated weather monitor displaying satellite imagery and forecast models. "Still on track, Captain," he confirmed, his finger tracing a projected path on the screen. "The models are converging. It's looking like a significant event. Heavy snow, high winds, zero visibility. Expected to hit the high peaks late day after tomorrow. We'll start seeing increasing cloud cover and stronger gusts sometime tomorrow night." He looked up, his expression grim. "Once it settles in, nothing will be moving on this mountain for at least 3 to 4 days, possibly longer." Now lock in for a roller coaster of horror thrills and check out Above Khumbu as soon as you get a chance. Link in the show notes. Fourth this week is How Easy It Is to Blame My Father by Andres. This is a beautifully written poem that captures a sense of pain and longing extremely well. I love how some of the lines feel like a question being posed without any answer that you could give. It's like the author's asking for clarity or understanding, but deep down they already know that they're not going to find what they're looking for. The last stanza in particular is deeply haunting and a wonderful way to end the piece. Check out this excerpt. "I saw a picture of him recently. A raisin of a man, all bunched up into a wrinkled fist, sitting on an orange chair. And I felt an ache, a longing, that felt like a punch, like a belt, like a stick on tender skin." If you enjoy deeply emotional poetry, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. Find a link in the show notes. Last this week is Riposte, Chapter 16 by A.J. Marks. This is incredibly cool. So, Riposte is also the name of AJ's publication, and the entire thing is dedicated to an ongoing serialized, character-driven sci-fi fiction narrative that will span 50 chapters and 4 movements in total. The story explores themes of identity, loyalty, trauma, and redemption. It promises humor, heart, shenanigans, and chaos, so it already has my attention. Fans of things like Star Trek, Babylon 5, The Expanse, and Firefly will feel right at home here, according to AJ, and I would agree from what I've read. This particular chapter has some truly outstanding dialogue as well. I loved how relatable and human the characters felt. The conversations flow naturally, and the sci-fi setting was immediately intriguing. Here's an excerpt. "Well, things work a little differently out here in the bush than they do in the core worlds, Commander." "The bush?" O'Leary asked blankly, and Lyra swept the air with her hand. "It's what they call this backwater area of the Styx of Space. Stay with me, Commander." "Aye, I'm with you," he said, still blankly, but he nodded for her to proceed, and she nodded back. "So yeah, out here where they measure Euclidean distance by weeks rather than length, it's kind of a wild territory. There's plenty of opportunity to be had out here, both legitimate and illegal. You've got new worlds being populated left and right for expansion, mining, farming, as outposts for more far-reaching scientific expeditions, as way stops along trade routes, and as preludes to be annexed by the Commonwealth. I learned quickly that for each and every one of these worlds that appeared, there was bound to be some idiot who thought they could get ahead without trying. As far as we are now, it's often up to independent systems to defend their own territories. There are currently 17 chapters available to read now, and don't worry, I'll forgive you if you're too excited to wait. You can come back and finish the podcast when you've caught up. I'll be here when you get back. Check the show notes for a link. Thank you to everyone who submitted this week, and next up is our weekly writing discussion. This past week, I posted an article about my first 6 months on Substack. That's right. As of June 4th, I've been here talking your ear off and posting stories and poems for a whole 6 months. Crazy how much has happened, but honestly, I'm just as excited as ever. A big part of what made things successful for me here were the writing challenges that I did in February and May. I plan to do more, of course, but these things take time and a lot of work to put together. Even so, they're a phenomenal way to connect with the community and your audience here on Substack. So for this week's writing discussion, I'd like to share an excerpt from my article regarding writing challenges. February 2025 rolled around, and I knew I wanted to host Flash Fiction February. I've always loved writing prompts, and this year I promised myself I would finish all 30 days of the challenge. So, every day in February, I posted a prompt in my subscriber chat. And guess what? People loved it. They were sending links to their stories, I was publishing new ones, and I was also reading as many as I could. And not just reading, I was liking, commenting, and restacking as well. Say it with me. I did the work. Flash Fiction February 2025 continues to be a core memory for me. But as many of you know, I hosted a similar challenge last month called Madness and Mayhem, and it was just as amazing. Now, I'm seeing people in the community hosting their own prompt challenges for June, and it truly warms my heart. So yeah, if you'd like to grow your audience and connect with your fellow writers, consider doing writing prompts. They can be a specific genre, or they can all be centered around a common theme, like what I've done for my challenges. They can also be simple or detailed and complex. The idea is that you want to give people just enough to start their story and get their creative minds racing. From there, all you have to do is sit back and watch, or participate yourself if you'd like. A great prompt has a nice balance between detail, mystery, and intrigue. In my opinion, the ones that allow for a lot of different interpretations are also really good because you can attract a lot of different writers, each bringing their own unique styles and perspectives. To wrap up this week's discussion, here's a few prompts from Madness and Mayhem that happened last month to give you an idea of what's worked for me in the past. Day 15's prompt was, write a short story or poem that takes place over the course of a single moment. Day 3's prompt was, choose a painting or photograph that conveys a strong emotion, and then write something inspired by it that conveys the opposite emotion. It was meant to be a practice in subverting reader expectations. Day 23 was to write a story with an unreliable narrator, which is a literary device where the narrator of the story is either subjective or deliberately hiding details from the reader. With Madness and Mayhem, the challenge was all about keeping writers on their toes. The prompts were a combination of unique concepts and opportunities to practice literary devices, like that unreliable narrator one from day 23. And that's just a quick look into challenges and prompts. If you're curious to learn more, let me know. I can do an article on the topic, or I'm always happy to answer questions for those who want to host their own challenges. Alright, and next up this week, I'm excited to welcome back Finton Marybrook from the world of Devine to talk about Devine stories that were written during the Madness and Mayhem Challenge. So on day 22 of the Madness and Mayhem Challenge, I asked folks to submit a story set in my Devine universe, which, as I mentioned in the beginning, combines fantasy and sci-fi. We had some really amazing entries. Also, earlier in the month, I asked people to borrow one of my characters and put them in one of their stories. And a couple of people who participated chose Finton Marybrook for that as well. And remember, he's the bard that narrates all the Devine stories. So, I wanted to bring him back on the show here. And I've compiled a list of all these stories here today, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome back the greatest storyteller in all of Devine, Finton Marybrook. Finton, thanks for coming back on the show. Yes, of course, but I don't see a show. This is just a small bedroom, it looks like. And a dirty one from the looks of it. Always a comedian. Finton, let's take a look at our first story here. This one's called A Call to Arms by Wendy Cockcroft. It's a story set on the battlefields outside the kingdom of Giant's Bane. Ah, yes. A story from the Siege of Giant's Bane by the Varak Horde. Yes, it's an event that's been the star of many tales, including some of my own. So, in this story, we meet a character by the name of Mimi Whimsydabble. Are you familiar with her? She seems to be doing some strange stuff here with the Varak technology. Ah, yes, I recall Mimi. Wonderful woman, but a little reckless for my liking. I'm all for experimentation, don't get me wrong, but human and Varak technology rarely mix well. She didn't ask about me though, did she? No, I don't think so. Why? Were you hoping she would? What? No. No, of course not. Let's go to the next story. Well, thanks to Wendy for that excellent story that stars a few cameos from Devine characters as well, and is set during a pivotal moment in the realm's history. Finton and I loved it. You talk like you created Devine. I did? Sure, right, sure you did. Okay, yeah, keep telling yourself that. Okay, I'm gonna avoid going down that rabbit hole. Next up, we have The Lab by the Verdant Butterfly. Okay, so I loved this one. The dark fantasy elements here were incredible, and the implication of what happened in the lab was haunting. What did you think of this one, Finton? Well, I'll tell you, not many people or creatures in the realm of Devine scare me, but Vel is certainly one of them. Have you ever been simultaneously terrified and endlessly fascinated by someone? Sure, yeah, no, I guess you could say that. So, wait a second then, you've met Vel before, I take it? Oh, not yet, but I will. How does that work? Well, you see, time flows differently for titans like me. People know that I'm one of the Eleuthian titans, right? I've dropped some hints in Devine stories, yeah. Good. I hate spoilers. Yes, Vel is one of those people that's also a force of nature. Her power was terrifying before they took her memories, but I imagine that's for the best. That lab isn't a place anyone should ever visit, let alone recall in their nightmares. Wow. I've never seen you scared like this, Finton. You'll see what I mean when you write that part of the story. You think the Varak are bad now? Just you wait. Okay, well, let's shift gears here for our next story, which is Bard Meet Pixel by Mary Ellen Brady. Aha, yes, I liked this one. To be honest, I didn't realize that it actually happened outside of my head. You see, I had a few drinks that night, and I ate more than a few questionable plants during my drunken stupor, and, well, you've read the story. Oh, yeah, well, nope, that explains a lot. But no, I love this story from Mary Ellen. It has such charming imagery, and the concept was wonderfully wholesome. Indeed. And since it was written, no one had to be subjected to my terrible singing voice. Wait a second, you're a bard and you have a bad singing voice? It's not bad so much as it's completely and entirely out of tune. These days I stick to just telling stories instead of singing them. Well, don't forget to check the show notes for a link to all these stories. Mary Ellen's Devine musical was a fun and charming look into a lighter side of the world. Next up is Out of Darkness by Mina Howell. This one's about Solara, Finton. Ah, yes, the fairies of Titanum Forest. I really should go visit them again. Oh, wait, I am, aren't I? That's right. Your first order of business, once the Order of the Pawn is formed, is to investigate Titanum Forest for signs of the rot. Ugh, don't remind me. I hate that guy. I did like this poem, though. People often think of fairies as fragile things, but they are quite fearsome in battle. I imagine we'll need their help again, sooner than we think. Ah, very nice. Little foreshadowing, huh? I'm sorry, what's foreshadowing? You know what? Don't worry about it. Next up, we have another story from Mary Ellen Brady called The Interdimensional Bard at Moondust. This was for the guest character prompts, so Mary Ellen borrowed you, Finton, for the story. Yes, I'm aware, and may I just say that I wish she was chronicling the realm of Devine. Oh, okay, so you liked it then. Liked it? Darling, did you see the outfit she gave me? Indigo and gold. Yes, I looked fantastic in this story. Yeah, she really did. She dressed you up nice, didn't she? Meanwhile, in your stories, I'm lucky to get a damn lute. Why would you care about a lute? I thought you couldn't sing. That doesn't mean I don't want to look the part. Well, I love the setting for this story. It was cozy and quaint, but it had so much mystery and intrigue. Would you want to visit Moondust Books, Finton? Are you kidding? I'd move there if I could. Well, there you have it. Another Devine classic from Mary Ellen Brady. Last but not least is The Bard's Canon by L.G. Wells. Oh, this one was my favorite. Yeah, this one was wild. I loved how LG took things in a horror direction. Could you imagine a world where you wanted to kill me? Ah ha ha, yes. What a foreign concept. I love the way that LG turned this into... I also love the way that LG turned me into this mad writer who had sort of lost the plot in the story. Well, as they say, art imitates life. What exactly are you implying, Finton? Nothing. Nothing at all. You're doing great. Have I told you that lately? Alright, well, thank you to everyone who wrote Devine stories for the Madness and Mayhem Challenge. I tried to make sure I got everyone here, but if I missed you, let me know, and I'll have Finton come back on the show to share his thoughts. Oh, joy. I love visiting this backwater planet. Well, in any case, thank you for having me, and may I also say that these writer friends of yours have impeccable taste. You're all friends of Devine in my book. Wow, that's really nice of you to say, Finton. And to be clear, I was talking about them, not you, Bradley. Right, of course. Okay, well, next up is our new Q&A segment called Echoes from the Void, with Voidy.
I can attest, Sir Voidy's the best. He wouldn't dare play it close to the vest. He's here to share, from here into there, the writers and words of which he does care.
All right, and in this new segment, Voidy and I will answer questions from the community. Keep an eye out each Monday for a thread in my subscriber chat where you can ask any questions you'd like about writing, the world, or whatever else is on your mind. Hey there, Voidy. Ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Oh, wow. Your voice sounds different.
Yeah, it turns out my voice is as adaptable as my body, so I figured I would change things up. This one sounds a little more cuddle-fishy to me.
I like it. All right, well, first up this week, Hazel Allen asks, what's your favorite type of potato dish to eat while you're working on writing? Well, I'll go first here. I think for me, it's got to be scalloped potatoes. The combination of thin little slices, a rich sauce, lots of cheese is just, it's so good.
Oh, I can't have those. I'm allergic to scallops and seafood.
But, Voidy, you're a cuttlefish. Don't you eat seafood?
Nope, common mistake. I'm vegan.
Huh, well, you learn something new every day.
Anyway, I'm gonna say mashed potatoes with lots of butter. Can't go wrong with a classic.
All right. Next this week, Andrew Taylor asks, where is your personality line on a scale of the muse tells me when to write to I tell the muse it's time to write? Well, to answer that question for me, it's sort of in the middle. I'll get bursts of inspiration where I just kind of dive into something and write for hours on end, but since I work in marketing at my day job and I have Substack to think about, I have to be productive at specific points throughout the day as well. So thankfully, my muse is pretty flexible, and I often get a lot of inspiration reading other people's work here on Substack, and if all else fails, prompts are also a huge help when I'm in need of ideas. What about you, Voidy?
My muse is in charge. She scares me.
Oh, wow, so you just wait for inspiration to strike.
Yeah, that or her whip.
Okay, you know what? I'm not going to touch that one. And next this week, our question comes from the Verdant Butterfly, who asks, what do you do when the page feels like sand and every word resists the pen? This is a great question. Sometimes just getting started can be really hard. A blank doc is a scary thing. Other times, the inspiration just isn't there or you're too exhausted to be creative. We're all humans at the end of the day, so we have to realize that there's always going to be a lot of challenges on our path to creativity. For me, when those moments happen, I think it's important not to force it. Brute forcing writer's block just leads to burnout, even if you do manage to make progress. Times like that are when I take a step back and either take a quick break, grab some food, take a shower, or seek out inspiration by reading other stuff or playing some video games to relax. By giving yourself a second to breathe, you can not only recover, but your subconscious mind will continue to work the problem in the background. Honestly, I recommend even trying doing mundane stuff like laundry or dishes. You'll be focused on the task at hand consciously, and subconsciously, you'll have that aha moment before you know it. And what about you, Voidy?
I like to build sandcastles.
Oh, right, but Verdant Butterfly was asking about what to do when the words feel like sand. In this case, they're not actually sand.
Yeah, I know that. I just like to build sandcastles. But it's hard without thumbs. Being a cuttlefish comes with its own challenges.
So your recommendation is to play, I'm guessing? I mean, that's a pretty good suggestion. Similar to what I said.
Yeah, creativity's supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, then do something else until you're ready to come back.
Good stuff, Voidy. Next question is from the Momster, who asks, do you have a specific time of day and or place where you write? For me, I have a spare bedroom that doubles as my home office. I usually spend my time working there, or sometimes I'll use it for writing during breaks or after work. I also have a laptop downstairs hooked up to my TV where I play games and stuff, so I'll usually do writing sprints down there with some of my friends on Discord, and that leads to a lot of writing, downstairs at night as well. Since I publish stuff every single day and I write for my day job, I'm basically writing every chance I get. What about you, Voidy?
Well, since I'm a physical manifestation of the void, my options are endless nothingness, the abyss, or a nice horizon of pitch black. So I usually just write wherever I find myself.
Ah, okay, so you just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, next up, TP Chaos asks, what writing rituals do you have? For me, I gotta have music. I can't just sit and write in silence. I also like to have a beverage handy. Sometimes it's just water, tea, soda, or every once in a while, I'll enjoy a fancy whiskey. What about you, Voidy?
Oh, wow, can I have a whiskey?
You can have one when you're older.
Aw, but I'm older than space and time. How much older do I need to be?
Just answer the question and we'll see, okay?
All right. Well, my writing ritual usually involves some sort of willing sacrifice, but unwilling works as well.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, but don't get too worked up. I'm just sacrificing AI models so I can harness their computational power for more helpful things like doing my math homework.
Aha! You know what? I can get behind that. I like that.
Yeah, thanks. And you know what? They're actually pretty cool with it too.
Okay, and last this week is a message from Nova Heart, and she said, I love Voidy. Adorable. I think she's a fan of your new cuttlefish form, Voidy.
I mean, come on. It's pretty great. Hey, doesn't Nova Heart have a bunch of really cool stories and ongoing series here on Substack?
She does. Great point, Voidy. We should check out some of her work soon so we can talk about it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm already caught up on the Crown of Ashes and Blood. Aren't you?
Oh, I'm still behind, unfortunately.
And you call yourself a Nova Heart fan. For shame.
Yeah, that's fair. I really wish I had infinite time like you do.
Well, you'd have more time on your hands if you stopped making excuses.
Damn, Voidy! I hate that you're right. Anyway, thanks to everyone who submitted questions, and stay tuned for a new thread this coming Monday for a chance to ask Voidy and I about what's on your mind. And last up this week, a look at what's coming up next week on Substack. Alright, next week on Substack, you can expect the next Divine Prelude to launch from TP Chaos, which will take us one step closer to the launch of the series. I'm also going to be back into interviews with creative people starting next week, now that I have over 50 people who have shown interest in coming on the show, which is amazing. All creative people are welcome, so you can expect conversations with authors, designers, musicians, artists, screenwriters, and plenty of others. Beyond that, I'm hoping to check out some of the other prompts and challenges that have emerged since I wrapped up the Madness and Mayhem challenge. Don't worry though, I'm looking to launch weekly prompts here soon that'll be more in-depth than ever, so stay tuned for those. And that's all I've got for this week. Thank you so much for being the best community a writer could ask for. I'm always humbled and inspired by each and every one of you. And as always, I'm wishing you all a productive week of writing. This is Bradley Ramsey, signing off. Confound this place. I cannot find the portal back to Devine. Oh, Finton, hey, are you lost? Yes! This mad labyrinth that you live in. I can't find my way out of it. Ah, here we go. This must be it. Finton, no! Oh, that's disgusting. What is this? Why do you have this here? Let me explain. It's a litter box. It's for the cats that live in the house. You keep animals in your house? Yeah, everybody does here. In fact, you want to meet the dogs? No, I'm fine, thank you. I'm gonna go back to Devine, where it's normal.